I'm Nicole Alvarez, and we're live at Coachella with Kneecap. There's a fly in here. I want you guys to know I have a notebook because I don't want to forget anything. But typically on weekends like this, my brain doesn't retain a lot of information. I've interviewed rock stars, but never movie stars. So this is a first, and you're much more handsome than Brad Pitt.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Spicy this fella. That's why he's got the mask.
I'm going to start off by saying something stupid, and I want to tell the internet that I am owning that this is a stupid thing I'm going to say. But I want to be honest. I did not know. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I did not know that Irish was an actual language. I thought it was just like the way that you spoke.
Top of the morning to you.
No, yeah. But then I asked a bunch of people, and a bunch of people were like, "We didn't know either." So is that a common thing, or am I just a stupid idiot?
I think that's a
you're just American.
You're just
American. That's something we talk about all the time. Like a lot of people have just, especially because America has this idealized version of Ireland because of all the films just make, like fucking Irish Wish or whatever you call it, and all these shitty films, Irish Lisp, and like all these, like we just think Ireland is still like in the fucking 1600s, and like all like shamrocks and leprechauns and stuff, but that's obviously not the real Ireland. Here. So
they're all gone.
It's not your fault, actually. To be fair,
thank you. Not mine personally. I was raised this way.
But like a lot of people do think that Irish is just like a dialect, or you like top of the morning to you. Like I've never ever heard an Irish person say top of the morning to you. Ever, and that's like a big thing.
When he wakes up at night time.
Is the Irish language? I read somewhere that the Irish language might go extinct. Is that true?
Not anymore. Like
not thanks to you guys. In part.
I mean, at one point, obviously British, the British basically drove it to almost extinction. Like it was all pushed to the west of Ireland, Connemara and Gweedore and stuff. And these are like places that obviously like kept the language alive. They refused to break the chain, and start speaking English. So they've spoke Irish there for over 2,000 years. So I mean, it's a miracle that the language has lasted against the British Empire. Like, I mean, these were just endless. Bottomless pits. The Brits said it again, but bottomless pits of money. Like they could just like fight for forever. Like, do you know what I mean? So we're very lucky that we still have it.
Let's talk about, and another thing that a lot of people don't put together is Irish hip hop. That's not really a thing, but I did a little digging, and it's actually been around since the early 90s, right? And from what I read, it was influenced from like 1970s hip hop in New York. When did you guys get into hip hop? Because you're known as an Irish hip hop group, although I think you're also very punk rock.
Very good crack. What? Punk rock.
I think you're very punk rock, but like, when did you get into the hip hop scene? How did you figure out that was the way that you were going to convey your message?
I mean, in the 90s there was hip hop groups who like Rira, and Scary Era who were class, and then kind of hip hop in Ireland kind of fell off, and everybody was doing like American accents and talking about like gangs and stuff, doing gangs and drive-bys, not McDonald's. Drive-throughs. But I kind of after like 2000, I think it was 2008, a band called the Rubber Bandits. Have you heard the Rubber Bandits?
No, but I'll do a deep dive after this. Okay.
So they kind of came about, and they were doing tunes about like Irish things and Irish culture, and they have one song about how a horse is superior to having a car.
Okay.
So like it was they were the first band to come up like from Ireland that weren't like this whole braggadocious like American style, which
they were
like,
actually thoughtful.
Exactly. Okay. So Americans are very like this
bling bling
braggadocious, very over the top, and like that's what hip hop music was always been. So people in Ireland emulated that.
And they're good at it though.
Yeah,
Irish people can't be braggadocious.
No, we're way too shy for that.
So what the artist you're telling me about was more thought provoking.
Yeah, I think it's just like more like a lot more. I mean, satire maybe, and more fun, and also kind of. We're very good at, what's the word,
self-aware?
No,
self-deprecating.
Self-deprecation, taking the piss out of ourselves, and that's something that kind of inspired us to do what we're doing. And I think because the Irish language, as you were saying, it has a lot of challenges after 800 years of colonization.
Who's counting?
801 soon. But I think like the aura around the language has been very serious, because of like the state it's been in, and like people trying to reclaim the language and reclaim their identity. So I think we wanted to bring some crack to the language, and also incorporate like the kind of city slang to the language, and we have new words for cocaine in Irish.
What is that?
Sneesh.
Sneesh?
Yeah, sneesh.
Cool. Cool. I'm sure a lot of people in Los Angeles will pick that one up. We had watching this.
we had a lot of cocaine in Ireland, like just before the orchestrated famine, but the British shipped it all out to their colonies.
Bastards.
So now we're going to pivot into the movie. I think the movie, they have a biopic, right? We call it a biopic, is brilliant because I think you're early enough in your career that most artists wouldn't have a biopic at this stage.
Usually dead, maybe.
But a lot of artists don't have as much to say. So 6 years after you started Kneecap, somebody approached you about making the movie. It wasn't your idea, right?
Yeah, we got approached. We said, we're going to start there.
Yeah, we got approached
so we got approached by
Rich Pepiat, he's called. He's an English fella, English director.
No fault of his own, he's English.
No fault of his own.
Cool English guy.
Yeah, there is nice. We like the English people. It's just the government.
Yeah, the government's fucked.
Has work to do.
But yeah, Rich came and he had we always say he had no preconceived ideas of what Irish history was, and he let us kind of tell our story, and he asked us about our stories, and we sat down. It was a collaborative process where we were able to give our stories, and he put that in. So
he made a movie.
He made a movie out of it.
I think a big part of it is, as you were saying, there is no movies.
No,
done
not
by
like
bands
that
aren't having like a heroin overdose or something similar to that. There,
not like that.
No, so he approached us obviously with the idea of the movie, and then we like basically ignored him for about 14 months, Rich. And no, we ignored him for a while because like we only started about 3 years, and there was an English fella saying, "Hey, I want to do a movie about Kneecap, about your story," and we didn't believe him, rightly so. But thankfully, he actually got us some free pints of Beamish, which is like a Guinness in Ireland. And that's, I mean, if you buy an Irish person a few pints, you'll probably do that.
You're good to go.
You do anything.
Or a shot of tequila, for example.
Or a shot of tequila.
Which is what I have for you guys. The movie starts off extremely hedonistic, like in this hedonistic fashion, and you guys like to have a good time. And I think that's, if I'm being honest, what drew me to you is like, oh, these guys have something to say, but they also like to have a good time. How much of the biopic is actually real?
I mean, with something we say in a lot of interviews is that we want to keep the lines blurred. We don't want it to be too obvious, but the fact is, but I feel like a lot of people would be surprised because see once you start opening one and saying this is true, it kind of goes, oh, well, then is this true? If they're saying that's true. So some of the stuff that is sort of more obscure in the film or a bit more out there is actually the truer stuff. So we just don't want to open that gate to be like, this is true and this isn't, because it also takes the magic away from it. But like people will be surprised that some of the parts in it are, and also there's some of the matter stuff is actually either taken from truth or true, and also there's a lot of the stuff there that's like stories from our friends, like or people around us that we have worked into the characters. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of truth to it, more than people would think. But again, it'll ruin the magic if I tell everyone what exactly was. You know, like Fargo. Did you ever see Fargo?
Yeah.
This is true. Yeah. But that actually was true.
That's absolutely fair. There's a line in the movie that I wrote down that I loved so much, and it's and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly, but one of you says, "It's a strange thing being seen when you come from a place that doesn't even want you to exist." And I loved that. I thought it was so powerful. How does Belfast feel about you now? How does Ireland welcome you now?
Well, Rich Papier wrote that, and obviously
it's a great line.
It's a great line. Obviously, it's me. I narrated at that point, like that we were doing it, and obviously, as soon as I read it, I thought it was a very good point. There's a couple of good lines in that wee monologue, actually.
Yeah.
So fair play to him. But it's obviously it comes down to the fact that like we live in Belfast, which is in the north of Ireland, which is still like the United Kingdom, so it's still under British occupation where we live. Like, I mean, if you drive 1 hour from my house, you pass an invisible border, and the currency changes. The phone numbers, the start of the phone numbers change. Like the people change, the accents change. But like, so for example, for me to be speaking Irish where I'm from is controversial.
Yeah.
The status quo of like the government would find it very controversial for me to be speaking Irish because I'm in Britain's jurisdiction. I have an Irish passport. I have an Irish passport, like we all do. Right. But like, if you drive again, as I said, 1 hour from my house, you get to Dundalk Dundalk's the closest place. And to speak Irish there, you're in the south of Ireland, but you're in the Republic. It's not controversial there. So that was where that line comes from. Like, where like, I mean, if the government had their way, there wouldn't be any Irish speakers up north, and it would be a place for loyalists, you know, like a safe haven for loyalists or whatever. That's just obviously where that line comes from. So again, and that just ties into controversy is completely subjective because I don't think it's controversial, but somebody down the street might find it controversial what we do. You know what I mean?
That line packed a punch.
And like you have to think that Ireland was only separated in 1921. It was kind of to the north and the south. So this is like people probably wouldn't realize this over in America, but it was separated. So the northern state was like brought into like the UK as it was, and then. But before that, like everybody in the whole island spoke Irish. So Irish was like only going back 3 generations of people. Everybody in the whole island spoke Irish, and so it only took 3 generations. They completely wipe it out.
English is like when you put it into English is a new concept in Ireland. I hope my English is. I hope everyone.
Yeah, you're pretty good. It's pretty good. But
So it's great that we're able to kind of because there was so much shame attached to the language back in the day. It's kind of come full circle now, where actually people are a lot more confident about the language, and that's kind of being brought to fruition now. And people are learning it and going out.
I love that this is a conversation now. That the Irish language is a conversation. What the hell is that?
Brits,
your band, and this movie in particular. What I love the most that's made me want to dive further into educating myself. There's also another cool line, and I'll say it really fast. But when you break into the school and you find the Roland 808, and you say, you see it, and you said it got into the hands of enough people that mattered, and I love that line. I love it. But before we wrap up, I've got like 3 quick questions. No, 2 actually. Who is the voice of reason amongst you?
That'll be me.
I feel like
it depends on the day.
I feel like it would be you.
It depends exactly. Whoever's the most sober.
Yeah.
I feel like no offense. I feel like it's not you.
Depends on who's fighting each other.
So. What? I mean, 20 minutes ago, I was trying to be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
But lasted for all of 60 seconds.
Okay.
And I had the mushroom gummy in the end.
Okay.
I had the mushroom gummy in the end, folks.
Today it's definitely me.
Okay.
It's definitely not.
I can see that. Yeah, you seem like the balance today. All right. If you had an introductory Kneecap song to represent you, to show somebody who's never heard Kneecap, but you want to lure them into your world, what song would you drop?
Sax Bomb.
Okay. You? Yeah. Obviously. Come on.
Gail Gigolos.
The responsible one says.
I'll give out a whack. Potter will go. Shout out. Potter will go. Island Mom.
Get your Brits out.
Okay.
Jesus,
and what did you
say?
Bit of
respect.
Gail Gigolos.
Okay, and then lastly, the movie, I think it opens with Prodigy with Smack My Bitch Up, and they're playing tonight. Will you be watching them? Yes. That was such a cool way to open the movie. It's the first song that plays, if I'm not mistaken. I was a little off.
It's actually...
our tune's the first one that plays.
Yeah, and then it's Prodigy right after that. And then it's Prodigy. Right, but I hope I hope that you guys have the most incredible time here. It doesn't matter to you what success you have in America. Just say yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Trump.
Please
don't
shoot
let
me.
us in.
Please don't shoot me.
Thank you guys so much. I haven't been this excited to interview or to see a band in as long as I can remember. And I don't say that to everybody. I don't have that many intellectual conversations in this particular trailer. Not like this, not like we've just had. And I think that you're interested.
Intellectual. Fuck me. These are setting the standards
low.
You have
a lot. Do you want a tequila shot?
Yay. Yeah, finally a bit of sense.
So here you go. This
I love tequila.
G4. Oh, it's got no additive. It's supposed to not give you a hangover. It's very hard to find. Hopefully they'll send me a case after this.
Is there no lime?
How do you say cheers and
salt,
and
lemon, an orange,
okay.
a banana?
Don't throw up on me. Right? Give it a second.
He hits it.
I'm Nicole Alvarez. We are live at Coachella with Kneecap.
Very nice.